2025 is going to be a fantastic reading year. Cue the new intro. I am so excited for my goal for 2025, and that is just to read more fantasy. I am strongly rooted in fantasy reading. That is where my first love was. And in the last few years, I've kind of gotten away from that. Like last year, I was focusing on classic science fiction. So I wanted to bring back my love of fantasy reading. And what better way than to trawl the internet for everybody's recommendations on the best reads. What's been fantastic is that people have come out with their best fantasy of the 21st century. They come out with collected recommendation videos for the best fantasy of 2023, let's say. I'll put one of those videos down below because they are just fantastic. I'm using the word fantastic a lot because this is a fantasy related goal video. Let's start with series that I want to finish. The Justice of Kings was one of those books that was recommended as many people's top book of 2023 or 2022. I can't remember which one. So I picked it up and I was blown away. And this year I read A Tyranny of Faith. It did take me a while, but that had to do with lifestyle, not the book. And it was so wonderful that I'm going to be reading Trials of the Empire next year. When I was first starting my booktube channel, I read Jade City and was not blown away by it, but I really enjoyed it. And then I read the second book, which was Jade War, and now I need to finish off this trilogy, and that one is Jade Legacy. This is a wushu crime family that uses jade as extra power, and it's mainly just the mafia family trying to vie for power on this tiny island that is very much like Singapore or Hong Kong. You all know it's coming, and I drew it 3 times last year, and that is the Tower of Babel series. I have the Hod King and the Fall of Babel. Both are hefty boys, and I just want to finish this series because I love it so much. This is following Zenlin, who's a school teacher. He's on a honeymoon with his new wife, and they go to something called the Tower of Babel, and there she gets lost, and he spends his time trying to find her. For a classic fantasy, I have been reading through the Belgariad. I loved the first 2 books, and I'm actually on the 3rd book. I think it's The Magician's Gambit. Yeah, The Magician's Gambit. This is a very stereotypical fantasy where the farm boy who has some mysterious parentage gets, brought up with a wizard of some kind. It's very Arthurian, but I love it, and I want to get back in this world. Many people have talked about this one, and that is the Grace of Kings. This is called the Dandelion Dynasty book series, and I'd love to start it. I know that this was one of those ones recommended as one of the best fantasy of the 21st century, and I want to find out why. A long time ago, I was recommended this book, and I was in the bookstore this summer, and I saw this, and I had to pick it up. And this is the Gormenghast trilogy. Now, this is all 3 books in one. I think the first book is called Titus Groans, and it's kind of about this place. So the castle is a character in itself. And I think in looking up more about this book, this is debatably fantasy. A lot of people say that it isn't really fantasy, but I don't care, and I'm putting this on my list. Now, will I get to all 3 books? Maybe not, but the first one for sure, as it's been on my list for years. Okay, BookTube lost its mind over this series, and it was more from the influence of Library of Alexandria, and that is, I don't know what it's called, the Long Price Quartet, and it has more to do with the fact that it is a fantastic overarching series that has a lot of payoff, but you kind of have to get through all four books. So this is two books in one. This is A Shadow in Summer and Betrayal in Winter, and this one is An Autumn War and the Price of Spring. I ordered these special from my bookstore last year, and I have yet to touch them, and I feel so bad. I even made a video where I was reading the first chapter. Like, I need to start this series. Even if I just finish the first two books, I would love. But if I could read the whole series this year, I would be so happy. I would also like to read the Goodreads winner for fantasy category. Depending on what it is. If it's like a third book in a series, I'm not going to. But if it's a first book in a series or a standalone, I'd love to try it out. And I would also like to try and find the videos of people suggesting their favorite fantasy from 2024. So I don't have those yet as I'm making this in November, but I'm hoping that that will come out and I'll be able to inform you of that soon enough. Some other books that I have added to my list and I know nothing about, but I would love to have them. In my last TBR video, I drew this one and I said I wouldn't talk about it until this video, and that is The Wolf of Aranjaro. I have read the first little bit of this and I loved it, and then I had to return it to the library. It was just not the time. I want 2025 to be the time for this book. Some other notable books that I have on my list: The Bladed Faith, The Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne. I'm not sure which one starts this series, but I think it's a series of 4 books. A lot of people have said that this is one of their favorites, and that is The Spear Cuts Through Water. Queen of Blood, The Bridge Kingdom, recommended by Julie at this channel here. I love following her stuff. And lastly, The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. He is a very notable fantasy person, so I'm very happy to finally delve into his stuff. And there you have it. That's my massive fantasy list, but I do believe I should be able to get most of these done through sheer will alone. My name is Karen. I am returning to fantasy. I am a Libranaut and I love exploring all different types of books, but 2025 is mostly fantasy. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.